Hi, you are on Snail TV, and today we will talk about the 2013 British drama Summer in February, based on real events. The leading roles were played by Dominic Cooper, Dan Stevens, and the charming Emily Browning. The events take place in 1913 in the fishing village of Lamorna. The settlement is famous for its beautiful views, which is why it is a popular place for the work of renowned English artists. A bohemian party in the studio house of a young, but already very famous, one might say brilliant artist ALFRED James Munnings. Outside the window, torrential rain is pouring. At this time, the owner, a passionate lover of wine and poetry, reads poems to the assembled guests. Suddenly, there is a knock on the door, after which the charming Florence, the sister of the aspiring artist JORRY, Carter Wood, who also came here to learn to draw, appears in the living room. Her brother introduces her to numerous guests, including Captain Gilbert Evans. The following day, during a horse ride along the seashore, the best friends Alfred and Gilbert share their impressions of the beautiful Florence. The artist says that perhaps the girl is good not only as a model for portraits, but also as a wife. It is worth noting that the military man also liked the young beauty very much. The same evening, Gilbert comes to visit ostensibly Joey, but he's more interested in the lovely heroine. From the conversation, he learns that his friend has already been here. Joey suggests the company go to the pub, where Alfred is having fun. The famous artist Harold Knight asks Florence to become a model for his new painting, but the girl kindly refuses the master, referring to the fact that she promised to pose on a horse for Alfred. Meanwhile, the tipsy hero recites the following verses in a cozy hop to the audience. He predictably breaks the applause from grateful listeners and arouses the heroine's interest. The bartender, Mr. JORRY, refuses to give a drink to a talented artist because he already owes a lot to the pub, which the man does. He pays with another sketch, hastily sketch it, right on the sheet with debt calculations. A few days later, the heroine as promised poses sitting on a horse for a new painting by Alfred. Suddenly, a shot is heard nearby, after which the animal is frightened, and Gilbert passes by the clearing in hunting clothes, then waves to a friend and the girl with a smile. Florence, referring to the fact that she also has things to do, leaves, but finds a departed artist competitor, after which she sits on the shore and watches his fishing. She likes the brilliant, but let's be honest, love to drink as well as go out, Albert, and the courteous, strict Captain Gilbert. With a courageous military hero, the heroine often walks along the seashore, but in parallel, periodically spends time with an artist who teaches her fine art. Florence confesses to Gilbert that she dreams of a small personal studio where she can work alone in silence. To this, it's time to state the obvious fact. The captain in love replies that he will help the girl find an art space. One day, the heroine finds a frustrated Alfred on the seashore, although he had to continue studying with her, after which he admits that he can no longer draw her. Like she's an artist, should understand this. The artist hints that he has deeper feelings for her than a simple student and model. After that, he leaves Lamorna. In search of inspiration, Albert finds a wandering gypsy camp and starts a fleeting affair with a colorful gypsy woman, after which he paints her portrait. The strict Florence father and Joey visit them to monitor how the fine art training goes. Captain Gilbert was chosen as the person who, so to speak, will take the fire on himself, because he knows how to communicate with people and make a good impression on them. A representative military man receives an invitation from Florence's father to visit London, to which he gladly agrees because this is not only a guarantee of straightening relations with the heroine, but also, practically, the blessing of a parent to marry his daughter. During another walk along the seashore, Gilbert invites Florence to attend the races, to which she agrees. The beauty doesn't suspect that the hero in love has decided to propose to her. At the hippodrome, Florence sees Alfred, who has returned from his creative wanderings. The artist is interested in whether the heroine missed him, to which she laughs off. They say she didn't even notice that the man was going somewhere. However, the girl remembered him more than once. In the evening, in a romantic setting classic of the genre, the moon, the sound of sea waves and other attributes, Gilbert wants to make a marriage proposal to his beloved. But at the most crucial moment, a tipsy Alfred appears on the terrace and disrupts all plans, inviting the without 5 seconds bride to dance. A few days later, the brilliant artist finishes painting Girl on Horseback, and the canvas comes out beautiful, however, like all his creations. The heroine continues to learn the art of drawing from Albert. At some point, one of the lessons turns into a rather intimate conversation with transcluent hints, and then an emboldened man offers Florence his hand and heart. The beauty responds with consent, even though she walked along the seashore with Gilbert for a long time, giving the military a reason to think that everything is serious with them. From that moment on, a love triangle is formed, and the unsuspecting captain suddenly becomes an extra angle, that is an outsider. As they say, a woman's heart is a mystery. Gilbert finds out that his, one can say already ex-best friend got engaged to the beautiful Florence. A man with a broken heart walks through the memorable places where he once wandered with his beloved, but now the girl rides horses here with Alfred. It hurts and hurts doubly, but nothing can be done. Alas, it is impossible. Meanwhile, Florence's future husband arrives in London for a conversation with her father. The heroine's dad is dissatisfied with his daughter's choice. The artist turns out to be proud, arrogant, and also a drinker. Note, all this is true. With a heavy heart, the father of the beauty agrees to the marriage, but sets Albert two conditions: earn a lot and make Florence truly happy. One morning, while the future spouse is napping, the heroine tries to draw a sketch, after which she asks the artist about his allegedly careless, clumsy brushstroke technique. Because of this innocent question, Albert suddenly loses his temper, then very rudely, grabbing her face, explains to Florence that he was blind in his right eye as a child. Deeply offended by such an attitude towards her, the girl leaves the house. Florence goes out into the yard and tries to paint the landscape, but tears of resentment roll down her cheeks. Joey, who comes to visit her, notices that her sister is distraught and then tries to console her with the fact that she will marry the most famous young artist in England. One day, while walking through the forest, the heroine notices Gilbert, who is fishing in his favorite place. To start a conversation, I note that they have not communicated since the moment the man found out about the engagement. Florence asks if he has looked after her long-promised studio, then invites him to the wedding. In the evening, Alfred unexpectedly comes to visit Gilbert with a bottle of wine, after which he offers to drink. The artist asks for a favor: to be the best man at a wedding in London, as Florence requested. The rejected captain is furious, however, he agrees. His love for the heroine is so strong that a man is ready to accept defeat to see the girl again. An exhibition opens in London Museum, where among the many canvases there is a picture of Alfred, the horsewoman, for which his future wife posed. Florence notices nearby the painting Gypsy Woman, which the artist painted when he was away, as well as the canvas Dolly on the Rocks. The heroine tells Gilbert with resentment and rage that all three models in these paintings are Alfred's mistresses, and now the whole world will know about it. Gilbert asks a reasonable question: why did Florence, knowing about, how should I put it neutrally, the artist's love, consent to the marriage? The girl explains: she's getting married to a genius. No comments, dear viewers. After that, the rejected captain tells Alfred that he has changed his mind about being the best man, and in general to attend their wedding. Nevertheless, Gilbert still comes to the wedding. Florence asks her husband to remove her portrait from the exhibition. Contrary to the heroine's wishes, Alfred, during a festive feast, on the contrary, with pathos, invites all guests to visit the Royal Academy of Arts to look at the portrait of his wife. Offended by this attitude towards herself, Florence leaves the banquet hall. Left alone with herself, she takes off her wedding ring. The girl bitterly realizes that choosing between the courageous romantic Captain Gilbert and the brilliant but narcissistic and unfaithful artist Alfred, she chooses the wrong one, after which drinks poison. Fortunately, the doctor saves the heroine. Then, after recovery, she and her husband return to Lamorna, setting in the same hotel where Captain Gilbert lives. The newlyweds meet him again, after which the man discovers that he's the inspiration, the muse for Alfred. That's why the artist is back. Gilbert has prepared a surprise for the heroine. He has found a long-promised room for a mini studio, where Florence will be able to draw without being distracted by anything. The delighted girl returns home to collect art supplies, but in the end, she almost becomes a victim of rape by her husband. It turns out that they have never had intimacy before. On the verge of hysteria, Florence returns to her new studio, where the faithful, unrequited captain calms her down. At night, Alfred comes to visit a friend, then expresses a claim to him because of the drawing house. To put it bluntly, is jealousy. The following day at breakfast, Gilbert tells the news that he has decided to go to surf in Africa for a long time. Alfred starts a quarrel. However, suddenly, the consistently decent captain breaks out in response, after which he expresses to the artist all the grievances against him: excessive pride, arrogance, infidelity, and the supposedly only correct view of life. After that, an enraged Gilbert comes to Florence's studio. Then she unexpectedly, passionately kisses the captain. Those feelings and mutual attraction, which have been lurking in lovers' hearts for a long time, finally break out, ending with an act of insane passion. Gilbert and Florence spend their last day together. The heroine cries, asking the captain to write letters to her more often because she will be waiting for him. Under sad music and tears, as it should be in romantic films, declarations of love finally sound. After a while, a desperate beauty who loves Gilbert is forced to live with the now hated her, with narcissistic, unfaithful husband Alfred, who almost throws himself off a cliff onto the coastal cliffs. Florence's friend guesses that the girl is pregnant, after which the heroine honestly confesses to her that the child is not from her legitimate husband because they did not even have sex. Therefore, she cannot or is afraid to admit this to Alfred. A few months later, the artist arranges a costume party where he gets drunk as always. Suddenly, he notices his wife's noticeably rounded tummy, makes a scandal, calls Florence a whore in front of everyone, and then throws her out. The disgraced heroine escapes to her tiny studio house in the pouring rain. Realizing again that it is unbearable to live like this anymore, she drinks poison. 2 years later, Captain Gilbert returns to Lamorna. He often brings flowers to Florence's grave. One day he visits the artist Gerald, who gives him a parting gift from Alfred, a picture wrapped in paper. The hero comes to the studio house, where he had a single night of passion with the girl he loved, with all his heart and forever. Gilbert unwraps a gift from a former friend, after which he puts on the mantelpiece the painting The Horsewoman, which depicts the beautiful Florence at a time when life has not yet brought her pain and disappointment. We briefly say goodbye to you on this sad, very romantic note. Subscribe to Snail TV, put likes, and recommend us to your friends, and love each other.